how to make a robust save system in this Godot tutorial series. Throughout the series, we'll cover how to save the player, inventory, and environmental data in Godot 4.4. This tutorial will apply to any game, whether it's 2D or 3D, and it's made in order to be modular. With that being said, I'm going to assume that you already have a player controller in some kind of game world. And for the sake of time, I've already set up a player controller right here, but it's very basic, so we're only going to add what we need. But here's the code right here, and it's a very basic top-down player controller. So what we'll want to do is go into our 2D or whichever space you are using for your player controller, and we're going to add a canvas layer. And this will act as our base UI. And for our case, we'll use we'll use a color rect. This will serve as our background, so I'll just change the color to be a bit more dark, and then I'm going to turn down the alpha, and I'll scale it over here. Hey everyone, me from the future here. Really quickly, I'm just going to show you an easier way to expand this color rect. Over here, you can click on this little icon and click right here to have it at full rect, so you don't have to do the same mistake that I did of just dragging over this color rect. And if you pay attention over here to this icon, which is the anchoring, it's also indicated by these little icons, and based on how you have them positioned, it will set it within this region based on your parent node. So if your parent node has been shrunken or increased in size, it'll keep this exact same aspect ratio, so long as the item is within that anchor to where my camera is. And for us to be able to have more space to work with, I'm going to go over to project settings, and I will go over to my window, and I'm just going to set this to 128 by 720. Same down here. And then down here, I'm going to go under stretch, under mode, and I'm going to select canvas items. The reason behind that is so it keeps the ratio, the aspect ratio, the same whether you're full screen or minimizing your window. As you can see, we have it right here, because otherwise the formatting of the UI would be incorrect. So I'll be having this, and we'll be able to toggle this on and off. We'll go over to project settings again. We'll go under input map, and in this box we're going to type escape, and this will act as our toggle for our inventory or for our UI that we're going to have. And I will also show built-in actions, and I'm going to just really quickly add WASD controls. And that should be all. So what we'll want to do next is add a button. And this button will allow us to go to our save menu. So something you may notice is our buttons are pretty small right now. And a really quick and easy way we can fix this is by reparenting these nodes here under this control. And we're going to resize this. So under layout, transform, we're going to set this to a scale of 4. Much bigger. You can adjust to your liking, but I'll keep it at this size. And then we're going to move the button down below here. So I'm going to rename this to menu button. I'm going to go under node. I'm going to click the pressed for the signals. And we'll just leave this here for now. We're going to need to create our menu. So under here, we're going to create a new control node. We'll call this save menu. And we'll do the same thing where we will create a color rect that will act as our background. In this case, I'll just set it to be there. I'll actually turn up the color a little bit. It doesn't really matter, just for for the sake of me. And then what we're going to want to do is create our buttons. So we'll want to have some slots here that will allow us to have different slots for our player to load and save to. So we'll create a panel first, and this will contain all of our save slots. So I'll have it like this. And then I'm going to, under this panel, I'm going to add two buttons. I'm going to add a save button, and I'll put save game. And then I'll put another button, and this will be our load button. And we'll add one more item, and it'll be a label, and this will just indicate what slot this is. So this is our first slot, we'll put it as 1. So we'll save this, we'll go under scenes, and I'll create a new folder called menus. And I'll save it here. So I'll just really quickly move and reorganize. So obviously I didn't set this to be perfectly aligned or correct, but that's fine. We mainly just want to be able to read what we have here. So there we go. So we'll put this as slot 1, and we'll actually rename these buttons to save button 1 and save load button 1. And the main reason being behind that is because we're going to want to duplicate these in order to have multiple slots. So I'll create a brand new script called savemenu.gd. So under here, we'll go back and we'll just duplicate these slots. So if it'll let me, there we go, maybe? There we go, okay. The keybinds weren't working for a moment. So we'll just rename this to save button 2, and we'll do the same for the other slot and rename it to 3. Now we're going to want to do this so when we connect these to the script via a signal, they can differentiate. So we'll do that here, and then we'll do the same process for all the other buttons. So for all of our load buttons, we're going to want to create a separate function, which I'll put right below here. We'll do function load game, and we're going to specify for a slot, which we'll have as integer. We'll put it as pass here. So for each of these load buttons, we'll want to do load game and then set our integer. So, you know, for 1, we're going to set 1 here because that's the first slot. And then we'll do it for the respective numbers, 2, and then we're going to do it for 3. And this will save us a lot of time and make it easier to edit all in one function. So we will come back to this function, or sorry, this script here. But what we're going to want to do is create a script. So we'll go under auto loads, and we'll create a new script, and we'll call this game manager. So what we're doing here is we are creating an auto load script that will allow us to store and then save information through this menu here. So we're going to go under the game manager, and we're going to set some variables. So we'll set variable player character body 2D is equal to null. So for your game, you'll want to make sure it's 3D if you have a 3D game, but you'll want to make sure that this game manager knows what your player is. This will allow us to store any kind of information regarding his position. So the next part we'll do is var target scene. String is equal to that. This will allow us to load into the game, and it will allow us to load into different worlds, which we will go over in another video. So here is where the best part of the video comes along, and we're going to do our save game function. So we'll do player position. In our case, we have a vector 2, and then we will set our slot as int. Now, the main reason why I'm calling this the best part of the video is because we're going to be using Godot's very powerful save system. So we're going to do var save is equal to config file.new. We're opening our files, or our file in this case, to be able to write. And what we'll do is do save.setValue. And so for the fields, as you can see, we have section, key, and then value. So section will do player, and this will store all of our player. This will be under the section of all player data. So we'll put X position for this one, and then we'll do 0. Actually, what we'll want to do instead is do player position dot X. Since we already have the player position as a parameter, we can just pull from there. And we'll do the same for our Y position. So I'll just do this and then replace these with Ys. So what this is going to allow us to do is we're going under the section player, we're going to set our value for the X position, and then we'll set the true value. And this will allow us to load in this very specific data and apply it to our player. But here's an even cooler part of this. So we can do variable save path string, and now you see how I have slot specified? Well, we can go into user/save, and this is accessing our data folder. So if you open this file, you can get the user data file. And so under here, we can do %d.config, and then we'll do %slot. So what this is going to allow us to do is search through files, but through our specifically wanted file here. So if it is 1, it will go specifically to save1.config. So with this kind of logic applied, you could pretty much have a quote-unquote infinite amount of saves, so long as you're able to search through the correct index. But it's a very powerful addition that Godot allows for. So we'll do save.save, and then we'll do save path. So we're drawing from this path here, and then we're going to save to this path. Okay, so now we'll do the loading part. So function load game, slot, integer, and then we're going to do variable save is equal to config file.new, and var load path string, and we're going to use the exact same principle here, which is super useful. And then we'll just do var error is equal to save.load load path. So if error does not equal okay, print no save file available. So in another episode, we'll be able to check if this error is true. We can ask the player if he would like to create a new save. So then we'll do return. That way it doesn't constantly loop through this. And so what we'll do is set X position is equal to save dot get value, and then we're gonna do this part. So under save, when we're doing save, we're opening config file.new, which means we're asking Godot to open up its file creation part of the engine. And then we're running this function, which allows us to grab whatever data we need from a file. So we can go under X position. As you can see, we already made that. So it can know where to go. And then we're going to set our value to 0.0. This is not going to set the value to 0.0. It's just to indicate the type of value it is. So in this case, it is a float. And we'll do the same for our Y. So I'll just copy and paste and replace all the fields as necessary. And what I can actually do here is go var player spawn position is equal to vector2, and then we'll do x position, y position. Oh wait, not quite yet. We'll just set this to vector2.0. This will omit any fields and just make it 0, 0. So within here, this is where we're going to apply it. So we'll go to player spawn position dot, actually we can just do equals vector2, and then we do x position, y position. So when we set this, it's loading the game, and then what's going to happen is we'll set a ready function in the player that's going to ask the game manager for this variable, and it's going to set the coordinates to the player. That way, when the player loads, it'll go right back to the exact same location he saved from. And we're pretty much done here. So we'll just save really quick, and we'll go under project settings, and we'll go to globals. We're going to look for our autoload right here, and we're going to add it. So now this autoload is going to be accessible across all scripts. So it is a completely public script. So right here, we're going to go over up, and we're going to create a ready function. So we'll do game manager dot player is equal to self. And then we'll set our global position equal to the game manager dot player spawn position. And there we go. Oh, this is just supposed to be self. So now we're going to revisit our save menu. And so now on these buttons pressed, what we're going to do is game manager dot save game, since we now have that function, and we'll want to do game manager dot player dot global position, and then we'll do slot 1. And so all you have to do is just copy and paste this and change the values here, and you're pretty much good to go for the saving part. So now for the loading part, we'll go to this function here. We'll do var world scene is equal to, we'll grab the path of the world here. There we go. So I just right click and then copy path, or you can do Control-Shift-C. And then I'm going to do var loading screen is equal to load. And then we'll need to create our loading screen. So for now, we're going to set this just to automatically go into the world. But if we say go into a dungeon, we'll also want to make sure that we're recording what world the player is before we save and then also load. So let's head over to a new scene, and we're going to create another control node. We'll do loading screen. Go under color rect. We'll create a dark color, drag it over, and then we'll add a label, and we'll just say loading game. And feel free to customize this part of it, since you could do a lot of cool things with load screens, such as animations or progress bar. which I may actually do a tutorial on, but for now we're going to keep it simple, and I'll just set the text to be like, so we'll save this, and I did Control-Shift-S to save this specific file, and I'm doing loading screen. Then we're going to create a script. So for our script, we'll just make our variables here. So var progress is equal to an array, var scene name string, and then we'll do var scene load status int is equal to 0. So for our ready function, we'll do scene name is equal to game manager dot target scene. That's why we set the target scene variable, is so we get a path to the specified world, and then we can just pass it on. So we'll do resource loader dot load threaded request scene name. Okay. And then for our process, we're not going to use delta. So a neat thing we can do is just add a underscore here. We're essentially telling Godot that we're not going to use delta here. And you can do that for pretty much any parameter that is required for native / private functions. So under scene load status, we want to do resource loader dot load threaded get status. Then we'll do scene name. Then we'll do progress. Then if scene load status is equals to resource loader dot thread load loaded. There we go. Then we'll do var new scene is equal to resource loader dot load threaded get, then scene name. Then we'll want to do get tree dot change scene to packed, then new scene. So I'll just quickly run down what we're doing here. So we have our progress, scene name, and then scene load status. What we're doing is we're grabbing from the game manager what world we're loading into, and then we're going to put in a request to load in this specific scene, and it'll go through the process of it via this load screen. So you'll then go through the process here, and when it's ready, it loads into the new scene and it gets the tree and changes to packed scene, which is our scene. So then we'll want to go back and we'll go over to save menu. I forgot to separate these here. And then we're also going to want to add a back button here. So I'll do that. So we'll set this to 2. And then for this one, we'll set it to 3. So we'll also add a button. This will allow us to go back to our actual game in case we don't want to save or load. So I'll do return right here. Do return button. And then I'm going to just do this connection, and we'll do visible is equal to false. There we go. So under player, when we have the menu button pressed, we were going to want to add under the UI our save menu. So we have it right here. And now anytime the menu button is pressed, we're going to unhide the save menu. So I actually create an onReady variable, save menu, control is equal to save menu. There we go. Then we'll do save menu dot visible is equal to true. And then under here, we're gonna want to make sure that our save menu is automatically set to invisible. That way we don't immediately get prompted to save our game when we haven't even played it. So I'm going to really quickly just hide this and go over and drop in our player right here. You can also hide this. All right, one more thing. We're gonna want to make sure that we can toggle this this menu here. So we'll go under physics process and do if action, actually no, it's input dot is action just pressed escape. Then we're going to do save menu dot visible. Actually, wrong one. We'll create another one, and this will be our onReady variable. Well, this will soon be our inventory, so I'll just call it our inventory UI. I'll just set it to inventory. Control is equal to control. I'll actually rename this to inventory. There we go. And then I'm going to do inventory dot visible is equal to true. Actually, we'll set this to a toggle. So we'll do not inventory dot visible. So if you don't know this trick, it will essentially allow you to toggle. So if you press escape and it was invisible, it's going to be visible now, and then vice versa. So let's go and test our game, and let's see if we got anything wrong. All right, we did not actually specify our load screen. And in fact, this is, I don't think, completely done. So let's stop testing the game really quick. I'll just put this away. And then I'm going to do game manager dot target scene is equal to world scene. Then get tree dot change scene to packed, and then we'll do loading screen. Okay, so I found out what the problem was, and it was this. I did not specify that we needed to load the game, and so we'll do slot. That was why we weren't getting any change in our position, because I did look inside of the save file data and it was just fine. So let's load the game, and perfect. So as you can see, I can move away from the player's original position, load, and then there we go. We have our player's position. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful or useful in any way. If you'd like to support this channel, please do comment, like, and subscribe. It helps hack the algorithm. For upcoming tutorials, I'm going to add an inventory system and then item looting, which can be tracked and saved inside of the save system that we're creating, and many more features that will be implemented into this series. But otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video, and goodbye.